This is 5 on your side at 6. Focused on you.
St. Louis is in the middle of a heat wave. Here's a live look at a steamy downtown St. Louis. Temperatures did not reach triple digits, but if you were outside this afternoon, it certainly felt like it. Thank you for being with us. I'm Ann Allred.
And I'm Mike Bush. We are in a weather alert as the extreme heat settles over the bi-state. Tonight we have team coverage of this heat wave. Diamond Palmer reports on how the heat impacted the first day of school at St. Louis Public Schools. And Holden Kurwicki spent the day with firefighters as they help people beat the heat.
But first, let's get a first check of your weather first forecast with Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell. Scott.
You know, temperatures today topping out in the mid-90s in St. Louis, and you may say, well, that's not really a big deal. Well, the fact that our dew-point temperatures are close to 80 degrees across the area, that is a big deal, and it's creating heat indices that remain dangerous as we just don't cool off much during the nighttime hours. We managed to make those low clouds move out a bit this afternoon and allowed for some sunshine. Can you imagine how hot it would have been today in St. Louis if we had started the day with full sunshine instead of those low clouds? As it was, we managed to get back to 95 degrees. We're still at 94 right now. Triple-digit heats back to our west. But as we zoom into the metro area, while we're in the low to mid-90s right now, this is what it feels like when you take into account the humidity levels. And yes, some of those higher numbers around 120 are a little bit higher. They may be skewed just a little bit, but 115 to 120 is not out of the question still this evening for those heat indices around the St. Louis area. This is dangerous heat, and it's going to be sticking with us again tomorrow. The peak heat index 110 to 120. The break will not come until we get into the weekend. We'll start that process on Friday. We'll talk more about that. But in the meantime, you just got to take it easy, stay in air conditioning, and drink as much water as you possibly can.
Thank you, Scott. Our team coverage of the extreme heat continues with how districts are keeping their students safe.
Today, an unexpected development forced hundreds of students out of their St. Louis school. 5 on your side's Diamond Palmer is live outside SLPS headquarters with more. Diamond.
Good evening, Mike and Ann. Well, St. Louis Public Schools made plans ahead of time for this excessive heat. And just to let everyone know at home how excessive this heat is, I've got a little tool here, a heat gun. We are coming in at 96.5 and the sun isn't even out. So definitely something to be careful for. Now, SLPS did a couple of things before the school year started, including turning on air conditioning 24/7 so the buildings could be cool, having extra water bottles for students, and also limiting and canceling outdoor activities.
Bench tables at Bush Middle School sat empty Monday because their power went out. St. Louis Public Schools made the decision to move students to Nottingham High School just minutes away.
And we eventually had to make a decision on what to do with students. It happened early this morning, like 5 in the morning, to my understanding.
George Sells, the director of communications for SLPS, says students were on buses to the high school by 9 a.m. this morning, and parents getting notified by phone, email, or social media about the outage.
You know, obviously because of this heat, anything can be possible. You know, I was in work when my son texted me this morning. He said, "Dad, we're in different schools." So I was kind of a little surprised. I didn't know.
Haroon Safi's son, Sarab, feels the same way as his dad.
It was kind of surprising to move on the first day of school. I didn't really expect it.
He says inside Nottingham High School, things weren't ideal for the first day of school.
It was very uncomfortable in there because we didn't have no chairs to sit on. We were just sitting in the gym floor.
But Sells says the high school could take the influx of students.
A little curveball nobody was expecting, but you know, these are the kind of things you have to deal with sometimes.
SLPS says students will return to Bush Middle School Tuesday for the rest of the week's instruction.
Now, Ameren does confirm to us that this power outage did occur because a tree limb fell on the power line. Again, that power is restored at Bush Middle School. Live in downtown, Diamond Palmer, 5 on your side.
With extreme heat across our area, St. Louis firefighters are hitting the streets in an attempt to keep people cool. 5 on your side's Holden Kurwicki joins us live in studio with more on how they're adding a new meaning to the vow to protect and serve.
Well, and St. Louis firefighters actually started going door to door, checking on the disabled and the elderly at 7 a.m. this morning. They told me it's a preventative measure that actually keeps the number of heat-related calls down, saves lives, and could even save you some money. St. Louis firefighters are trained to deal with extreme heat.
This type of temperature and this type of humidity can be very dangerous.
That's why they're not using this truck to fight fires, but instead keep St. Louis cool.
We're out here today installing air conditioning units for residents that need them.
By partnering with Ameren and Cool Down St. Louis, they're able to deliver and install units for the elderly and disabled who otherwise would be left to sweat it out.
Sometimes our elderly that were born prior to air conditioning think that they can still make it because they went through these things when they were young, but they're no longer young. Now they're elderly and their bodies don't regulate heat the same way.
People will try to beat the heat, but the heat will eventually beat you.
Well, the demand for new units and utility assistance is up 43% year over year. Gentry Trotter, founder of Cool Down St. Louis, says his organization often finds that even those with working air won't turn it on over concerns about running up their bill.
Seniors that are trying to decide if they're going to get cooler or not, and we ask them to get cooler.
Missouri law makes it illegal for utility companies to disconnect customers for non-payment when the heat index is above 95. But Trotter says people still need to pay their bill, or at the very least, ask for help.
The utilities doesn't know, and CoolDownStLouis.org doesn't know. None of our partners know unless you communicate with us.
If you're not an elderly and you do not qualify for the program, find a cooling center so that you get the relief that you need, because over the long haul, this can play a very devastating role on your health if you're sustained to these type of temperatures and this humidity for an extended period of time.
We have received a number of calls today from renters with broken or disabled air conditioners, but unfortunately Missouri law doesn't require landlords to provide working air. That's why Cool Down St. Louis is asking for donations. For more information, go to KSTK.com and look for this story under the As Seen on TV tab.
Holden, thanks. New at 6, an accused predator who police say attacked 2 children in South St. Louis finally had his day in court. 5 on Your Side was the only media outlet in the courtroom today for these intense moments when a judge decided whether the man should be released on bond or remain behind bars. And our Christine Byers is here to explain why it's taken weeks for a process after you're arrested that normally takes just a few days. Christine.
Exactly, Ann. So I've been covering public safety in St. Louis for almost 20 years now, and I can tell you I've never seen anything like what I saw in the courtroom today. Bailiffs handed out tissues to several inmates who started crying when they heard the allegations against Haji Gul Asmani.
It began July 23rd when police say this man, Haji Gul Asmani, snatched a 6-year-old boy with special needs off his bike in the alley behind his home and sexually assaulted him. The St. Louis Hills neighborhood, which has more than 100 security cameras, captured images of the suspect. Asmani's boss from the factory where he worked in Fenton recognized him and called police. He was arrested July 28th and also charged with a second attempted attack on a 12-year-old boy. That boy recognized Asmani from the images too and told his parents the same man put him in a headlock while he was playing at Francis Park. Asmani appeared for his first bond hearing July 31st, but court personnel learned he only speaks his native language of Pashto from Afghanistan. Another hearing August 7th was continued so the court could find an interpreter.
If all of that is delayed for 3 weeks, then he has not been apprised of any of those rights, and that is an unreasonable delay.
Retired federal judge and 5 on Your Side legal analyst Nanette Baker says interpreters for legal proceedings must be certified.
So a certified interpreter is sworn, is trained to correctly interpret the proceedings. And so it is critically important that the person who does the interpreting be certified.
Monday afternoon, prosecutors read impact statements to the court from the victims' parents. One of them said Asmani stalked their son until he was away from his friends at the park. The mother of the younger victim told the court her son still wants nothing to do with his new bike. Asmani's attorney said he came to the United States in December of 2021 with his wife and their 4 children. The youngest is 1 year old. He said his client has lived in St. Louis the entire time.
Asmani's attorney also asked the judge to release his client to his brother, who also lives in St. Louis. The attorney said his client's family and other members of the Afghan community were willing to give the court their passports if necessary. The judge denied Asmani's bond, and he'll have another chance to argue for a reduced bond August 29th.